धर्म की क्या भूमिका है, एक राज्य में धर्म की अहमियत क्या है, इस विषय पे अब प्रबुद्ध वक्ताओं को सुनेंगे। अब मैं मंच आज के इस सत्र के चेयर डॉक्टर शैलेश मेहता सर को सौंपता हूं, जो इस सत्र को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। डॉक्टर शैलेश मेहता सर।
So at the outset, I greet all the dharmic souls who are aspiring for the universal welfare, and we have gathered here. So with that welcome note, and I also connect and bow to your divine selves. So with that initial note, each speaker of the session, I request to give the presentation or talk in 25 minutes. So if we save some time, we'd like to have some interaction or some questions. If they wish, I can remind them at the end of 23 minutes. And for that, I begin and invite Professor Jio Leong Lee. Coincidentally, he is also associated with integrative medicine, so somewhat related to my line, because I am also an eye surgeon working with outer eye, inner eye, and eye also. That's how the holistic inner science. So please welcome Professor Jio Leong Lee.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. The topic of myself is Dharma as a principle of self-denial and emptiness. First chapter, Hindu way of life heading toward the death of I-ness. Every human being swallows poison named death at the moment of birth. Here, poison is the principle of I-ness. Yoga and other sadhana tradition of India are aimed to detoxify this poison, and when the I-ness disappears, one reaches the ultimate destination of life, nirvana or moksha. Just as a person drinking poison has to endure pain or washing stomach to detoxify, the process of detoxifying the I-ness is also suffering itself. Therefore, Buddha said that life is suffering. In a sense, the lesson of yoga is similar to it. According to Sankhya Karika, the goal of physical body, including mind, is to make Purusha experience and liberate. If we want to, we don't have a body, there is no experience and liberation. We can experience as long as we have a body, but not all experiences are connected to liberation. A long experience rather drives people to be poisoned by I-ness. However, it is obvious that we can not experience without the body. And without experience, it is not possible to achieve liberation either. In a broad sense, whether we are happy or not, all experiences are suffering. However, the suffering recognized in the viewpoint of yoga or Buddhism has a positive meaning. Neither Buddhism nor yoga is pessimistic. The teaching of life, that life is suffering, is rather a message that life is hopeful, because only the disease with pain can be cured. The disease without pain is incurable. Cancer is the typical example of incurable disease. Suffering is a sign that it can be cured while it is curing. The meaning of life as suffering is like this. Having pain in life is a positive sign that the life philosophy, life poisoned by I-ness, can be cured while it's currently curing. Therefore, we have to firstly admit the fact that life is suffering. We can see what in the next only if we accept the suffering in our life. Buddhism and Hinduism meet on common ground in heading toward extinction of I-ness. In fact, unity of being or non-duality of Vedanta is not different from Pratitya Samutpada. As long as there is I, no self cannot come out, and non-duality of Vedanta cannot be realized. It is not until the principle of I-ness turns into zero or nothingness that Tattvamasi in the Upanishad can become a reality. As long as I exists, he does not exist. When the I becomes zero, he turns up. For example, if A and B are in the relationship of non-duality, it means there is neither A nor B. Even when only one of the two exists, the relationship of non-duality cannot come into existence. In this respect, yoga is like a snail which crawls to the zero point where he or her I-ness is totally detoxified. Indian philosophy is based on the four pillars of karma, samsara, dharma, and moksha. Here, dharma is the way to realizing death of I-ness. Death must die through by detoxifying I-ness. Dharma embodies a process of heading for nothingness. When one reaches the nothingness of 0 point, one frees from oneself from I-ness and becomes the center of the universe, where non-duality of Vedanta and perfect self-efficient of Buddhism are realized. Like in geometrical figures, the 0 point is nothing, and at the same time, the origin where the x-axis and the y-axis meet each other on the coordinates. As long as x-axis or the y-axis has some value on the coordinates, they cannot meet at the origin. Ahamkara constantly wants to have some value of the x-axis and the y-axis. Fake self tries to come away from the origin as far as possible. This is the nature of the fake self. To the contrary, practice is an effort to go back to the 0 point. At this point, the Madhyamaka and the yoga are all the same. The closer fake self is to the 0 point, the more likely it is to go glimmering. As long as it comes away from the 0 point further, the true self never comes into light. Because it is not until the fake self dies out that the true self makes its appearance. Like this, the Madhyamaka and yoga have in common in heading for nothingness. Even Christianity, I think this same principle. I will skip my paper. In the history of Indian philosophy, Indian thought as the concept of dharma was formed. The identity of Hinduism as a way of life was also established. Okay, this part also I have to skip. Second chapter, Dharma is principle of self-denial. Because we don't have much time, I have to skip my paper. Literally, Dharma means holding up or supporting. The thing that is holding up anything does not exist for itself. As the principal truth holding up the universe is Dharma, the four pillars holding up a house to make you sure that its roof does not collapse are also Dharma. Do the four pillars supporting a house exist for themselves? They do not. The four pillars do not exist for themselves, but do in order to create empty space supporting the roof. In this sense, the essence of Dharma is self-denial and self-sacrifice. Dharma is commonly translated into religion. However, if a religion exists for itself, it cannot be Dharma. That is why religion is often likened to a raft to cross a river in the East. Religion is nothing more than a raft used as a temporary expedient for people to cross the river of samsara. The same is true of politics. If politics exists for itself, it is not Dharma. Who is person practicing Dharma? Then who is? Then it is the person who follows the way of self-denial life. As mentioned above, Dharma is the way to reach the 0 point like this. You can say a process of heading for nothingness is a way of self-denial. And self-denial or self-sacrifice is usually attended with anguish or suffering. This point is well described in the Vedas. Yes, again, I have to skip my paper. Next page. Tapas has intrinsic qualities of patience and self-restriction. Traditionally, in all religious practices, religious austerities consist of fasting, all light devotion, and abstinence. In this sense, religious austerities mean controlling desires. The essence of Dharma is patience and control, which is well described in, again, Yamayami Sukta of Rigveda. Next page. It is not too much to say that the essence of ashrama dharma is also self-denial and tapas. For example, in the period of brahmacharya, respecting parents and teachers means a kind of self-denial and a process of weakening I-ness. Even the word of brahmacharya, the first of the four ashrama of human life, has the meaning of virtue of celibacy when unmarried and fidelity when married. What about grihastha? Becoming the head of a family is becoming the center of family. And as mentioned earlier, the center is 0 point, always, yes. Reached by extinction of I-ness. As long as one does not accept self-denial and self-sacrifice, the duty as the head of the family cannot be done properly. Ashrama Dharma emphasizes the importance of a family as a basic unit of society. The pivotal meaning of home is a school of practicing blind love. It is my own opinion. It is not easy to love someone else blindly and deny oneself. However, it is not hard for parents to deny and sacrifice themselves for their children. Even parents can sacrifice their lives for the sake of their children. Parents can practice blind love and self-denial because they have children. On the other hand, children learn self-denial through their parents' blind love. Marriage is a formality where a man and woman have learned blind love from their parents, reproduce blind love. Varna Dharma is also maintained on the premise of self-denial. Without self-denial of members of a society, it is not to accept the fact that one belongs to a certain class of the caste system from the moment of birth, irrespective of one's own will. The caste system is based on the belief that all people are equal before the law of karma, and this belief is not different from self-denial. In other words, as long as one does not put first the law of karma over individual will, it is demanding to accept the caste system. The caste system pursues a big aim of a society rather than individuals' purposes. That is, public good of the society has priority of individuals achieving their goals. That is because Dharma indicates obligations as it is interpreted in the religious social context. Both society and family are maintained by observing obligations. What are obligations? Obligations are available based on the foundation of self-denial. Varna Dharma has a positive element that allows the Indian society to inherit the perpetual spirit and tradition by generations. It is not saying that the caste system should be supported by itself. The caste system can have a positive aspect on the premise of spontaneous self-sacrifice and self-denial. Chapter 3, spontaneous self-denial and self-realization. Self-denial for realizing Dharma should be spontaneous. Only when being spontaneous, self-denial is meaningful in realizing Dharma. If it is not spontaneous self-denial, it is not a virtue. And humiliation and failure. But humiliation and failure. Then why only spontaneous self-denial have a meaning? It has something with desire, Dhamma. Dhamma, like Dharma, is one of the four proper goals of aims, Purushartha of human life, and is not an object which should be unconditionally neglected or oppressed. It should be realized, which means to be overcome. The fact that spontaneous denial is only meaningful has something to do with realization of karma. Primarily, karma is not the thing that unconditionally takes place all the time. It occurs only for the object which has possibility to be realized. Let us think of its example. Is there anybody who wants to go to Venus at this moment? Maybe nobody does. It is because it does not have any possibility at all. There is no possibility for us to go to Venus. Therefore, any desire to want to go to Venus does not happen. Karma does not take place only for, does take place only for the object which has possibility. Without the slightest chance, karma will not happen. Realizing or overcoming karma emerges after karma. It is a play upon words that karma has been overcome, though it did not take place. I will skip next paragraph also. Then, how karma overcome and realized? It is only possible through spontaneous self-denial. Spontaneous giving up or renunciation of things that are obtainable or enjoyable. Let us take an example again. How is the desire for money realized and overcome? A person who has no money in the first place cannot overcome the desire for money. The homeless at the street may have a strong desire for money. Are the rich who lives in palatial residence free of desires for money then? Maybe not. The more you earn, the more you want. Then, who is free of desire for money? Let me give you an example. An old Korean woman has sold rolled rice kimbap, a Korean popular street food, for her life, and made hundreds of millions won. Then she happened to aim high and donated the big money to a school for scholarships. What about the old lady? She might be much more free of desire for money than the rich with tens of millions won. The lady's story tells us what is spontaneous giving up. Yes, again, I have to skip. In a broad sense, the core of ashrama dharma is spontaneous giving up, renunciation of things one finds possible. The first and second of four ashramas is brahmacharya and grihastha are the stages of preparing for spontaneous giving up. The pursuit of the knowledge of Brahman and the practice of celibacy is the essence of brahmacharya, and the obligation of the head of family is to produce children and to accumulate wealth. However, the first and the second stage are not for the sake of themselves, but for next two stages of vanaprastha and sannyasa. As one transfers from grihastha to vanaprastha, spontaneous giving up or grand renunciation is necessary. Yet, it is not saying that the first and the second stages are less significant than the next two stages. If one does not devote oneself to the first and second stages, we can't see grand renunciation happen, or we are to just see languishing giving up. The process of transferring from grihastha to vanaprastha is compared to entering the priesthood in the Buddhism, which is the behavior to sacrifice oneself to realize dharma. If not, it is running away from home rather than entering the priesthood. Here, the grand giving up is likened to the process where a plane takes off. The first and second stages are the process where a plane taxis out upon the runway, and the grand giving up is takeoff. Next two stages are compared to a flight into the sky. If a plane did not taxi out upon the runway, a takeoff could be impossible. Therefore, it is quite critical for one to devote oneself to brahmacharya and grihastha. However, if a plane keeps taxiing out upon the runway, what would happen? Flying into the sky would not happen, and the plane could even collide with an airport building. which might cause a serious accident. First two stages are compared to the daily routine, while the next two stages represent departure from the routine. The daily routine is for the sake of comfort, while departure is for freedom. The daily routine is safe, but departure is dangerous. As long as one seeks for freedom rather than comfort, spontaneous giving up and departure in danger should not be missed, which holds up the spirit of ashram dharma. Fourth, dharma nurturing life within by creating emptiness. As the example of four pillars supporting a house is shown, the aim of dharma is to make empty space by which all things make sure to be preserved for their existence and achieve harmony and balance, in the sense that dharma does not insist on itself, and it embraces every existence. It is the same as a shed. In the country house in the old days, the essence of a shed is being empty. As it is empty, it becomes a shed. An empty shed is the place to put anything in. A shed is not limited to the place where particular things are placed. The place for people to put anything in is a shed. Dharma is the same as a shed. Dharma can embrace all existence in itself as it is empty. The thing in a shed do not belonging to a shed. A bed is an article belonging to a bedroom, but things in a shed are not articles belong to the shed. It is because those things in the shed which are not decided for a particular spot are temporarily placed in the shed. When a shed is empty and keeps being emptified, it commits itself to its essence and function. If we only to try to fill a shed, what will happen? The shed will be full of odors and end soon and cannot take anything. Then a shed comes to lose its essence and function. The place full of so much clutter is not a shed anymore. The key here is that a house is harmonized and balanced due to the shed. By accepting articles which cannot be placed in a proper way as they are not decided for their spot, the shed creates order and balance of the whole house. Buddha Sakyamuni is the best example of revealing its true character on the earth by dharma of a shed. Life only grows up in an empty space. Why? Living is trembling. I think so. Living is trembling, which is only available in an empty space. It is like sitar or bina making a beautiful sound with an empty sound box. In fact, this morning also I skipped my breakfast for my speech. This is why Hindu Dharma focuses more on emptiness than feeling. It recognizes that emptiness allows life to take place. Feeling is always for emptiness. The Neti tradition in the Upanishads is a straightforward example of showing Hindu Dharma pursuing the truth by emptiness. Health and healing, a current worldwide hot issue, should be figured out from this viewpoint. Most of physical diseases are contracted because of too much nutrient from a lot of food filling the body. It is also the conclusion of Western medical science in modern times. Ayurveda, in Indian natural medicine, pointed out the importance of emptiness in the body long time ago. According to Ayurveda, human consists of 6 elements, soul and 5 mahabhutas. That is emptiness, Akasha, Vayu, Tejas, Up, and Prithvi. What is noticeable here is that Akasha is recognized as one of the elements forming human body. In other words, just as lack of water causes human to have diseases, human body without emptiness is also unhealthy. Most diseases that modern people are suffering from are due to lacking of emptiness in their physical body. The core of treatment in Ayurveda lies on fasting and panchakarmas. In this sense, it is not too much to say that Ayurveda is the medicine of emptiness. The same principle of the body is applied to mind also. According to Sankhya philosophy, one of the bases of Ayurveda, mind is also a product of Prakriti in the same way of the physical body, where mind turns out to have the material quality. Mostly, mental illnesses come from trying to feel too much, what is called stress, a cause of all diseases. Result from indigestion of the mind, excessively eating through 5 sense organs, indriyas. Unlike the West, a painting without blank is not considered a good painting in the East. It is said that the beauty of Oriental paintings falls on blank. Human is the same. By identifying a person who has blank in the body and mind is healthy and beautiful. Dharma is compared to mother nurturing life and order in the universe. Last, Dharma, which is as if it is not. According to Zhangzhou, we call it Zhangja, it is said that if shoes do fit one's feet perfectly, the shoes are forgotten. Dharma goes in the same way. As if the shoes fitting one's feet perfectly do not insist on I-ness, idle Dharma does not insist I-ness. The thing which is as if it is not is Dharma. At the same time, Dharma embraces all things in the universe. All existence in the universe is self-expression of Dharma and is in the bosom of the universe. In this regard, Buddha Dharma and Hindu Dharma are not different. But its Samatpada and unity of existence literally point out an aspect of Dharma unfolded in the universe. Although every existence is a self-expression of Dharma, there exists diversity among things and peoples in the world. This is because Dharma is only one, but its self-expression can be diverse. The most crucial virtue of Hindu Dharma is to embrace diverseness of human societies. India is a country of diversity. Diversity in a society is often considered as a cause of disorder and discord. However, if we know that all of us are self-expression of Dharma, diversity among us must be rather natural. Diversity can make beautiful harmony happen. If there is no diversity, there is only uniformity, and neither harmony nor unity exist. Seeming discord and disorder needs to be accepted as an effort to adjust the horizon of understanding. Of course, it can be expressed as fighting in the progress where diverse members in the society are creating harmony and order, and in the progress where Dharma is realized. Fighting might be inevitable. However, we need to learn the skills of fighting in the teaching of Krishna of Bhagavad Gita. In the field of Dharma, Dharmakshestra, Krishna said to Arjuna, move forward to fight, having made victory and defeat the same. It is important. Engage though in battle for the sake of battle, thus thou shalt not incur sin. Fighting with the premise of victory is destructive. It is not an effort to adjust the horizon of understanding. My victory means your defeat. However, if we think that all of us are self-expression of Dharma, it is obvious that your defeat is just ours. Tantra has a saying that there is nothing unnecessary in the world, but there are only things imperfect. I think Nietzsche also said like this. It moves against realization of Dharma that all units of the society, including nature and animals, are excluded or removed by fighting or conquest. Embracement and forgiveness are the only key to solution of conflict in our society. Then who will embrace and who will forgive? The haves and the powerful should do. It is because forgiveness and self-denial of the have-nots and those who have no power is not true forgiveness. Only forgiveness and self-denial of the haves and the powerful can be spontaneous, and when the haves give up, their giving up is beautiful. In the same way, when the powerful forgive, their forgiveness can be beautiful. The message Hindu Dharma delivers to us is spontaneous giving up and renunciation of things one finds possible. Only those who have can give away. However, if one does not give up, things one has are meaningless. The loss of humanity brought by modern civilization is boiled down to a fatal wound of those who do not give away and give up. Okay. As Nietzsche warned earlier, as long as the meaning of material affluence is distorted, we have no choice but to be satisfied with happiness of cattle herds on a green pasture. And the final destination of us would be the loss of humanity. Only when we spontaneously give up and we approach the zero-point realization of Dharma, where I am saved by saying you will come to our reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jiolong, for very in-depth study of our ancient knowledge and tradition. Now I invite Dr. A.K. Merchant, who is National Trustee of Lotus Temple and Baha'i Community of India, to share his views on Dharma and polity. State.
First of all, distinguished guests, delegates, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I am beholden to the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Shri Honorable Shivraj Singh Chauhan Sahab, to all his colleagues in the ministry. I had, of course, the pleasure of listening only to the Mr. Surinder Patwaji. Because of the change in the Chief Minister's schedule, I missed the opportunity of his welcome address. But I am beholden to him and to the government, to the India Foundation, to the Sanchi University, its Vice Chancellor, Dr. Shastri ji, to Professor Siddheshwar Bhatt ji, to all the distinguished colleagues who have been working day and night for this 4th Dharma Dhamma conference. I had the good fortune of being here last year, and I also had a chance to attend one Dharma Dhamma conference in Delhi. So it has been a wonderful journey so far. And this topic is truly important. I must not also forget the chair for this session, Dr. Shailesh Mehta ji, and my former speaker, earlier speaker, Dr. Lee, and all of you for being here. कि ये जो विषय लिया गया है धर्मा और राजनीति, polity can be translated in many ways, but it has to do with governance. हमारे जो शासन की जो प्रणाली है उससे संबंधित है. तो सर्वप्रथम तो मैंने सबको धन्यवाद कहा, और वास्तव में मैं आभारी हूँ कि मुझे फिर से ये एक मौका दिया जा रहा है कि राष्ट्रीय बहाई आध्यात्मिक सभा की ओर से और बाकी सारी संस्थाओं की ओर से मुझे ये सौभाग्य मिल रहा है. तो मैं अपने आप को एक समाज सेवक के रूप में देखता हूँ, और मैं हर दिन चिंतित हूँ कि हमारे मानवता की आज ऐसी दुर्दशा जो हुई है, ऐसा जो सभ्यता का पतन हो रहा है, इसके पीछे क्या कोई कारण है? इसके पीछे क्या उद्देश्य हो सकता है कि हमने अपने आप को इस धरती पे जीने लायक ही नहीं रखा है? So the challenge before us is enormous, and this was mentioned also in the morning inaugural speeches. So we are surrounded by huge number of crises, huge number of challenges and problems. But we human beings, who are the best of all creation, who have strong faith and conviction in the power of Dharma to transform us, Should we allow ourselves to fail? Should we sink into pessimism? Should we sink into all kinds of negativities? Or should we rise, move forward, and look at the beacon lights of guidance that this great civilization, this great country has provided, not only to India, but to the whole world? They have given us this conviction that the world is one family. It's not a market. हम भारतीयों को ये सीख मिला है कि संसार एक परिवार है, और पश्चिमी देशों ये कह रहे हैं कि संसार एक बाजार है। तो आप देखिए, सोच, हमारे सोच में सर्वप्रथम बदलाव बहुत ज़रूरी है। और इसीलिए मैंने समझने की कोशिश की कि ये जो एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण विषय रखा गया है, धर्म और राजनीति, धर्म एंड पॉलिटी, इट्स एक्सट्रीमली important. And I'm sure, as was mentioned, and also I should thank our registrar of the Sanchi University, Mr. Rajesh Gupta ji. He made a very powerful concluding remarks, and it's our hope that something positive will emerge, and dharma, when fused with the pragmatic wisdom, today the finest collection of the pragmatic wisdom of the human race may be found in what is called Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, which was adopted by the entire human race in September 2015. और इस सतत विकास के लिए जो 17 लक्ष्य हम सब ने अपनी स्वीकृति जताई है, और उसके साथ 169 उद्देश्य भी है, तो मुझे लगता है कि जहाँ तक विज्ञान, जहाँ तक ये भौतिक ज्ञान का सवाल है, ये एक जो एजेंडा तैयार किया गया है, उसमें सबसे बेहतरीन से बेहतरीन, बेहतर से बेहतर विचार हमें मिल सकते हैं। लेकिन उन्होंने धर्म को नहीं जोड़ा, इसलिए पूरी सफलता प्राप्त करना उनके लिए संभव नहीं है। हम भारतीयों को धर्म का जो देन है, धर्म का जो पहलू है, उसका भी महत्व हमें दिखाना होगा। क्योंकि आज की वास्तविकता क्या है? अगर ये 7 अरब विश्व के लोगों को एक गांव के रूप में देखा जाए, और इस गांव में अगर 100 लोग रहते हैं, तो हमारे विश्व कैसा दिखेगा? हाउ विल आवर वर्ल्ड लुक if the 7 billion plus people were to be miniaturized into a village of 100 people? What would be the state of the world? So my opening remarks are that unless and until we understand this condition of humankind, we will not be able to place in proper perspective our ideas and concepts about world as one family. Even in India, there are so many challenges. It's easier to say it from a platform and a pulpit. But when you look around, what is the reality? The reality is that this 100 people living in that village, 60 of them would be Asians, 16 would be Africans, 10 would be Europeans, 8 people would be from Central and South America, Mexico, and the Caribbean, 5 people from North America, the United States and Canada, and 1 person would be from either Australia or New Zealand. And the people of this village would have considerable difficulty in communicating. Of course, at this conference, we are using Hindi and English, and I hope that so many countries that are represented, they would be at least be able to follow English, if not Hindi. But we had a good example this morning when the Mahathiro, he spoke in Hindi as well, and he recalled his long-standing association with India and how he learned Hindi. So these people in the village comprising the world would have considerable difficulty communicating because 17 of these would be speaking a Chinese dialect. 12 would be Mandarin. You know, in Chinese language also there are so many dialects. But Mandarin is the written script and is the most widespread. and it is the official language of the People's Republic of China. 6 of them would be speaking Spanish, 5 would be speaking English, though English seems to have an overwhelming, presence, but when it comes to the data and the statistics, this is the reality. 4 people would be speaking Hindi or Urdu. For last few years, I've also been following the Hindi language conferences that are being held, and they said something like 1 billion people in the world can speak, Hindi and Urdu or Hindustani. 3 people would be speaking Arabic, 3 people would be speaking Portuguese, and the list accounts for less than half the villagers. Mind you, this is the world population compressed into 100 people. And the others would be speaking in descending order, either Bengali, Russian, Japanese, Javanese, Lahda, German, French, and over 7,000 other languages. In fact, one of the sideline goals of the United Nations is how to save some of the languages from going extinct. In this village, there would be, in terms of the religious diversity, 32 who would be professing some form of Christianity, 23 who would be professing some form of Islam, 15 would be Hindus. Again, we know the diversity of our very word. When we talk about Hinduism, although it's a misnomer, the Vedic religion or the Sanatan Dharma, yet in this population of 105, there would be how many? There would be 15 Hindus. 16 would be non-religious, either agnostics or atheists, and their number seems to be growing, especially among the younger generation. 7 would be Buddhist, 6 would follow some folk or traditional religion, and 1 all other religions. There are so many others, for instance, Judaism, the Baha'i faith, Sikhism, Shintoism, Taoism, the Zoroastrian faith, the Parsis, to mention just a few. And in this population of 100 in the village, there would be 51 who would be living in cities. 23 would live in substandard housing. According to the World Bank data which I have, the ratio is 74% in the villages and 26% in the cities. 16 would be illiterate. 14 would suffer from malnutrition. 11 would have no access to clean, safe drinking water. 20 people would not have any electricity. And of the 80 people who would have electricity, most of them would use electricity only for light at night. In the village, there would be 56 radios, 22 televisions, 93 mobile phone subscriptions, 9 computers. Some villagers would own more than one. 40 people would be using the internet. 17 people would own an automobile, a car, but some would have more than one. 8 people would possess 83% of the entire village wealth. Entire wealth of the village would be owned by just 8% of that population. The poorest 70% of the people would receive only 3% of the total income of the village. So it's a very stark reality, because when you look at the world around you, whether it be in India, whether it be United States of America, whether it be some country in Asia, I know there are delegates who have come even from Vietnam and the West. You find these conditions of extremes of wealth and poverty, some people living in utter opulence, exhibiting filthiness of their richness, while others would be just on starvation diet. And here's some more food for thought. If you woke up this morning healthy, you are more blessed than the 1 million who will not survive the week. By the end of the week, about 1 million people die due to various reasons. If you have never experienced the danger of battle, the fear and loneliness of imprisonment, the agony of torture, of pain and starvation, you are better off than the 500 million people in the world. 500 million people, their existence covers these very horrendous situations. If you have food in your refrigerator, clothes on your back, a roof over your head, a place to sleep, you are more comfortable than the 75% of the people of this world. If you have money in the bank, in your wallet, and some spare change in your dish someplace in the home, you are among the top 8% of the world's wealthy. If you can read this, then you are better off than, more blessed than over 2 billion people in the world, even today, who cannot read at all. So when we consider the world from such a compressed perspective and try to understand what role Dharma has to play and what should be the true meaning of polity, governance, and good citizenship, we might be able to come with some answers, some plausible solutions, some better mechanisms, so that we can bring greater happiness, a little bit more comfort to those vast majority of the deprived, agonized, troubled, marginalized, disadvantaged, downtrodden, that inhabit almost all the countries of the world. So in this context, let's look at what Dharma is supposed to do. And I'm grateful, my daughter, who's a student of political science and also the researcher with the Institute for Studies in Global Prosperity, and she's also a trainer, she has helped me, because I said that, Beti, just look at what I've prepared, and she's gave me a whole range of ideas and information, and I'm grateful to her. So the very first slide says that in most countries there is tremendous confusion about religion. In much of the Western world, after science completely demolished the dogmatic religious principles, they started looking at countries in Asia to find new members for their community. India, of course, is not like that. India, though we have what we call a secular constitution, but there is some confusion about Dharma Nirpekshta. Dharma Nirpekshta, which if you translate it literally means nothing to do with religion, but in India it doesn't mean that. It means religion has a place. It has a very important place in our system of governance. While in the United States, their constitution clearly talks about the separation of the government from the church, in India it's not like that. You cannot take a single step without invoking the forces of Dharma. But let's do it with greater sanity, greater rationality. So, because religion and politics, when they are separated, they have resulted in corruption. I think today, the forces of materialism are one of the biggest causes for making it impossible to govern. And I do not have to elaborate. On the other hand, religion, if it is looked upon as a system of knowledge, as a spiritual discipline, it contributes very powerfully in social transformation, in achieving our goals for the betterment of the world. And Mahatma Gandhi was quite alert and aware about this, and he talked about the spiritualization of politics. Since time is short, I'll just try to be. Then there is no dearth of idealist, well-meaning philosophers in whose works one doesn't find a marked distinction between the two, because from the early days of the Greek polis, the question of morals and metaphysics were dominant in the common speech and literary works. Religion was something personal, direct, and present in all areas of life. Now, another disclaimer, for me, when I use the word dharma or religion, or even mazhab or deen, let's not get bogged down with semantics, because sometimes in my interfaith discourses, I find people are bogged down with semantics. For me, religion is a system of knowledge. And this is what we in India also believe. That's why when we invoke the Upanishads, when we invoke the Bhagavad Gita, what we are doing is drawing on that spiritual reservoir of knowledge, not going in trapped by rituals or tradition. So here, for me, when I use the word religion, it is easily interchangeable with dharma. If religion in Latin means to bind, to bring together, to combine, dharma means to cling. Dharma has the individual perspective and also the social perspective as being a system for justice and righteousness. So same would apply to other faiths, and language should not be a cause for any division, because we have had plenty of that. So in the Indian context, dharma and politics have always been intermingled, as I've already said, and our idea about secularism is also supposed to be entirely different, not causing conflicts and division. It was never intended. It was intended to embrace and make our governance all-inclusive, not divisive. And Nehru and Gandhi stood together in regard to the realization that India was a pluralistic society in terms of religion, in terms of language, customs. And it was necessary for the Indian state of the future to be accommodating of this religious diversity. Anekta mein ekta. And the great sage, Kautilya, who recognized the importance of dharma, in his work he talks about the interaction between dharma, the universal laws and duties, and the artha of the tradition, worldly requirements and material goods. And if the Dharma Shastra influenced Kautilya, it is also the case that Kautilya's Artha Shastra, in its turn, influenced the literature on dharma. Mahatma Gandhi, again, he talks about political power as means, the capacity for providing us the capacity to regulate national life through national representatives. And if national life becomes so perfect as to become self-regulated, no representation becomes necessary. Of course, now much water has flown since those times, and he, of course, advocated that all party politics should be disbanded. And I don't think that there seems to be time for getting into that debate over here. Likewise, our first education minister, post-independence, Maulana Azad, he also viewed that it would be impossible to have an intellectual mold without religion. And he held that the state should supervise religious instruction so as to ensure that adherence to religion did not degenerate to intolerance. In fact, this very idea was reiterated in 2002 by the Supreme Court of India, when they said that every child in India should know about the basics of all the religions in our country. That way, a child will grow up tolerant, understanding, and will not fall prey to rumor mongers, will not fall prey to those who distort the meaning of religion. It was a very good suggestion, but I don't know to what extent we have been successful. The purpose of politics is another theme, and politics is popularly defined as a struggle for power. Really, should it be a struggle for power? If it is, we are talking about good governance. It's more about service. And I think I have seen about Madhya Pradesh in the last many years that I have had the good fortune of coming here. I've seen that there is a change. There's a new wind blowing. Because there are a number of very committed and really devoted public servants that I've discovered. And I feel if India had more of them, surely the change and the transformation in our country would be that much faster. and many of the problems that we face could also be addressed in a much more holistic and a peaceful manner. Now, coming to the purpose of religion. Religion is not supposed to trap us into tradition and a bundle of superstitions and dogma. If it does that, then it loses its very meaning of dharma. Dharma is supposed to be soul elevating, uplifting, giving us a holistic vision to be able to transcend the narrow barriers. I mean, you have in Swami Vivekananda a great example. You have in Sri Aurobindo another great example, and like this, there have been many spiritual luminaries, both in modern times and in the past. So we need to look at how they understood dharma and how they applied it to their daily lives. So if religion is to fulfill its purpose, then it must be a cause of social good. No religion in the world is against humanity, and no religion ever talks about asking its followers to kill others, to be fanatics, to become fundamentalists. All these are extremely foreign. I have studied all the different religions, although I had to study it either in English or Hindi because I didn't learn the original languages of those scriptures. But I can say with confidence that all religions talk about love, unity, peace, harmony. No religion talks about war and conflict. The other day I came across a very good article which stated that if the United States of America wants to have peace in the world, it has the resources, it has the technology, it has all the wherewithal. But then peace would be a very cheap thing. If they were to establish peace, what happens to the Pentagon? What happens to the war machinery, the military-industrial complex? It's in the military-industrial complex that they can thrive, not by working for peace. This is a reality. I think you cannot ignore it. So friends, when we come to the role of dharma and the polity, there are many dimensions. My paper, of course, elaborates how the history of Greek polity evolved, how the concept of good citizenry evolved. In the past, of course, there was an injustice done to the women folk. The women in most countries got their chance to vote or become part of the governance system quite late. But today we live in an age where, like the two wings of the bird, both men and women are equal. And every opportunity, privilege, rights must be accorded the girl child. We talk a lot about empowerment, but in reality, we still have a long, long way to travel. Even our great debate about 33% members in the parliament being women is still a big struggle. But I hope, because as Baha'is we believe that in the sight of the divine, women and men are equal. Many of those old-fashioned, chauvinistic ideas in the males are completely erroneous, and they were distorted. Because after all, the word human being, and our own tradition talks about the Ardhanareshwari concept. Again, India has already given this to the world, but yet in practice, on one hand, we may put the woman and call her a goddess, but on the other hand, we also treat her as cattle. So you have both the extremes. Now we, through education, need to ensure that all these divisive and false notions about not giving women their rightful place, because unless and until we do that, there can never be peace on earth. This is one of the Baha'i cardinal principles. So I think my time is, of course, limited, and at the end I want to say that there are many issues. The paper elaborates, but one important issue that I would like to address, which are very relevant, is that if you look at the society is composed of three categories or protagonists. हमारे समाज में तीन प्रकार के न्यायक हैं. एक है समुदाय, दूसरा है संस्था और तीसरा है व्यक्ति। और आप कोई भी सभ्यता का अध्ययन करेंगे तो जहाँ जहाँ जिन जिन समाज में ये तीन जो नायक है, प्रोटैगनिस्ट हैं, उनमें एक संतुलन अगर बना रहता है तो उस समाज का प्रगति और विकास होता है। हाँ, बस मेरा 2 मिनट। When the three protagonists are perfectly aligned and in harmony, then there is progress. Because what does the community do? The community is always clamoring that nobody is listening to it. It wants that its voice be heard. The institutions are always trying to get people to obey, to follow what they say. And the individuals, they want complete freedom to do what they want, what their whims and fancies dictate. You cannot have a society that can live in harmony and peace if all these three protagonists are all the time pulling in three different directions. So you need to have a balance. And when we talk about governance, largely we are talking about institutions. And whoever is in that institution of decision making, they have come to that position as a result of the choices that individuals have made. In a democracy, since I'm taking the democracy as an example, the choices we make as a citizen will determine the kind of polity, the kind of institutions of governance we give to ourselves. If you make a wrong choice and then you make all kinds of demands and all kinds of vandalizing of public property, then it is not a wrong thing, not a right thing to do. Likewise, a community has got to, as I explained to you in the beginning, need to understand the diversity. If it continues to discriminate, polarize the population, then you will have more and more problems. So at the end, with full depth of my heart, I thank the organizers, and I'd just like to conclude with this half-a-minute quote, which is the view of our planet. Baha'is are also great advocates of world citizenship. And if you look at this planet of ours from the moon, how does this planet look? Let me read to you what one of the astronauts, so far 12 human beings only have stepped on the moon. And the third person to do that was Buzz Aldrin. Was he the third or second? I'm forgetting. And he said, when he looked at this planet Earth from that distance, the moon, which is about 400,000 kilometers, he said, observing our planet, he said, the view of the Earth from the moon fascinated me. A small disk, 240,000 miles, which is 400,000 kilometers away. It was hard to think that this little thing held so many problems, so many frustrations, raging nationalistic interests, famines, wars, pestilence don't show from that distance. You know, from that distance, our planet is blue and silver and so fragile, so delicate, beautiful. So from that distance, he couldn't see any of this. And he said that I'm convinced that some wayward stranger in a spacecraft coming from another part of the heavens could look at Earth and never know that it was inhabited at all. But the same wayward stranger would certainly know instinctively that if the Earth were inhabited, then the destinies of all who lived on it must be inevitably interwoven and joined. We are one hunk of ground. These are the words of Buzz Aldrin. We are one hunk of ground, water, air, clouds, floating around in space. From out there, it is really one world. The earth is but one country and humankind its citizens. ये पृथ्वी एक देश है और हम सब इसके नागरिक. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
I would like to invite Dr. Shailesh Mehta sir to give his views on the topic Dharma and State. Dr. Shailesh Mehta, sir. He is an integrative healer by profession, a doctor, ophthalmologist. And how a healer, a doctor, looks Dharma. So it will be very interesting because Dharma, as we know, there is a very famous quotation from Acharya Charak who says, Dharmarth kam mokshanam arogyam moolam uttamam. The Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha, these four Purusharthas can only be attained while we are in a good state of health. So there is a very important role of health. So we would like to see Dr. Shailesh Mehta sir, how he throws light on the relationship of Dharma with the healing. Dr. Mehta sir.
I was thinking that as a chair, when I have to combine and assimilate the views already presented and also give my views. And I came to know that the third speaker has been delayed. So let's try to give both the things, what I have been viewing Dharma and State from the holistic science perspective, as well as my duty as a chair. I'll try to combine, and at the end, whatever time we are left out, we will have some very good interactions with all on the subject, if that seems appropriate. So, as Dr. Merchant also used the word holistic as a whole, all inclusive and all comprehensive. So what can be the holistic vision for universal welfare? So what is Dharma? For me, the things, I like very simple things. If adharma is the darkness of ignorance, incorrect understandings or wrong beliefs, Dharma has to be the light of true knowledge, correct understanding or right beliefs about life, living, universe or cosmos, and natural laws as a whole. So it's very simple that if this room is a dark room, if I try to walk out, there will be many stumblings. But if there is a single light, there will be none. So people say that Dharma is a guiding light for moral, principled, duty-bound behavior. Few others say it's a righteousness in thoughts, words, actions, or norms of behavior, or even a law in widest range. But what I feel practically, whatever role I am into, right now I am standing in front of you. I may be having some other role as a doctor, I may be having role as son of my mother, I may be having role as my friend. Whatever role we are all into day in, day out, each moment of life, each breath of life, we have Dharma. And when we talk of polity, we have to talk about Raja Dharma. The rulers have to have their own Dharma. One can be a judge, one can be a teacher, one can be a businessman. All have their own dharmas, and as he rightly said, citizen. As an Indian citizen, I have my dharma as a global citizen. And humorously, as a husband, we have pati dharma. As a wife, we have patni dharma. As a santan, we have dharma towards our parents. As a parent, we have dharma towards our offsprings or children. And biggest of all, as a human being, we have manav dharma. So at the core of everything lies what is manav dharma. And dharma, artha, kama, moksha, aptly talked about. So dharma, in essence, is innate nature of the thing. When we talk of dharma, Prakriti has its own dharma, five senses has its own dharma, and soul also has its own dharma. Means innate nature or characteristics or attributes of a thing, and here where it connects with the science. Because science also, wherever there is element, there are properties, there are functionalities. But most importantly, it should be practical, applicable to all facets of life, and it should be result giving. If it doesn't give result, see, if a patient comes to me with some illness, whatever theories and whatever PhDs I am holding, if I cannot give him a cure or a result, he will walk away. So it should be result giving. In which way? If it is leading to resolution of clashes, divisions, partitions, then it is dharma. if it is leading to clashes, quarrels, divisions, then it is adharma. So, dharma is a journey from happy, harmonious, positive living and welfare at all levels, individual, social, national, international or global, leading to ultimate bliss, which Dr. Professor Leong already talked. To me, it does not indicate, involve or is limited to any particular religion or a belief system, though all religions have some essence of dharma. And here what is important is, as long as the religion is providing that vehicle of dharma, it is beneficial. But in the name of religion, when it is contrary, when in the name of religion there are quarrels, as he rightly said, when in the name of religion, if our sisters and mothers are deprived of their legitimate rights, I should think that what if it would have been my sister or my mother. So this is a need of time. We all wise people have to not only think but stand up and say that religion is all right, but it should follow the dharma. I was coming by a car and an interesting simile, somebody was traveling by bicycle, somebody by rickshaw, somebody by different cars and so many vehicles. Nobody asked by which vehicle you came, but there was a dharma on the road. Drive carefully. Even if the other fellow is driving recklessly, you have to drive carefully to avoid clashes and accidents, otherwise both of you will get hurt or die. So this is what the dharma is. I may be following any way or no way, religion or no religion, but the fundamental principles should be followed. So it involves everything: duty, ethics, natural law, transcendental realization, cosmic order and social welfare. Now polity, as he said, it is a system of governance for harmonious interconnected living. To me, it is for harmonious interconnected living, mainly relating to state, but to all other things, organized societies, groups, nations or international levels. Polity should be guided, supported and regulated by dharma, and in turn, polity has to protect the dharma also. So polity cannot be away from the socio-cultural or spiritual nature of the society. So to simplify, because I am an eye doctor, I love to refer to vision a lot. Dharma is like a vision or eye in a body. Polity is like rest of the body, working for according to vision. So dharma provides vision and wisdom, and implementation and administration has to be through the polity. This is what I believe. Now polity, to implement the visions and missions as given by the right or appropriate dharma, it has under its armamentarium strategy, planning, law, power, administration, everything. But for that, for harmonious living and holistic growth of one and all, it has to have the guiding vision. In all times, right from the dawn of civilization, I can recollect Lord Rushabdev, who was king initially. He gave Asi, Masi and Krusi. At that time, the society was not organized. He first of all organized the society, gave the organizing rules. First of all, he gave that without marital relation, male and female coming into physical relations will not be good. So that's how the organized society started, and then he became enlightened also to give the absolute ultimate knowledge. And his son King Bharata, from whose name the name came as Bharata, ruled to bring those dharmic principles to the citizens. So all the times we have seen this, whether it is Chanakya and Chandragupta Maurya, whether it is Akbar or everything, and we with Aryan living, especially those in this part of the continent, we are more governed by inner living and inner awareness, and it can be better guided and regulated by dharma and dharma principles rather than laws and danda or the Rajadanda. So holistic science combines everything, knowledge of I, which Professor Leong Lee already mentioned, and I also humorously mentioned that I have a privilege of working with outer eye, inner eye and I. So it's a knowledge of I with mind, speech, body, inner happenings and outer happenings along with the natural regulatory system. But most importantly, it is easy, practical, result oriented and scientific. It is all inclusive and all comprehensive, useful and beneficial to one and all, irrespective of caste, color, creed, faith, religion, nationality or socio-economic status. I think that is where the Dharma has to come into play, that it has to be applicable and useful and beneficial to one and all, irrespective of anything. Because it provides correct understanding and guiding light for all aspects of life and living, including dharma, polity and many others. And this is where it touches all the fields like politics, education, health, science and technology, economics, law, judiciary, media or ecology, which I am going to touch, because these are the arms and legs or the armamentarium of polity where the vision and correct vision is required. So, because I am a student of science and this time, our younger generation is going to ask what, when, how, why. In a previous times, the same scientific principles were explained and followed as dharma. The same principles now need to be explained, understood and spread through scientific understandings. And cutting short, there are many, many scientists and there are many, many references. One of them is Andrew Newberg in the New Jersey, who is studying with the specs what is the effect of meditation, what is the effect of prayer, what is the effect of anger, what is the effect of forgiveness on our body. So when it can be shown to any layman, he will immediately understand what is dharma and what is not dharma. Should I be angry? Should I be not angry? Should I be taking revenge? Should I go for forgiveness? And this is how yoga, meditation and certain universal dharmic principles are accepted throughout the world because the experiments could prove it. So few basic principles. Everybody is talking of others and self. But I believe that if I understand the science, no sooner I try to give happiness to anybody else, no sooner I decide that okay, I'll help this patient. Even before I speak out and go and help the patient, I become happy first. My inner environment becomes positive, my aura body becomes positive, my functional MRI picture will become positive. So the rule is simple, whatever actions of my mind, speech and body which are going to make others happy will make me happy first. Before obliging others, I am being obliged myself, and before hurting others, I will be disturbed also. So if this principle is made to understand in a simple language to the people, I think a lot of work will be done very, very easily. Help yourself by helping others. Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has been coming out with many, many good initiatives. I am trying to add one more, Help India. I'll expand onto that, how we can that. World is my own echo or my own projection. I'm not trying to do anything for anybody else. World is me only, there is no other in the world. No sooner I think that I should say you are a nice person, before I speak my face will be smiling. No sooner it comes to me that you are not a good person, even before saying that my face will be disturbed. So there is no injustice in the nature. Nature is our own echo or our own reflection of the human vibrations. And no one can escape the natural laws. So as he said, we are all part of one thing, interconnected whole. So what do I think about Help India? I am now going to have some practical suggestions on the subject of dharma and polity. Help yourself by helping others. Now, we all have many types of wealth. Wealth is not only currency in my pocket or in my bank. My time, my skills, my abilities, my knowledge, my attitudes, all are wealth with me. And I could found that there are 3 places where they have opened digital time bank. I can go in and say that, okay, I have 2 hours a week, somebody needing, I'll be happy to help as a doctor. So we can have such platforms. Sinhasta, I met one person, I'm quoting only one, there are many, many doing, Professor Kanan from IIT Mumbai, and they have created the huge platform of spoken tutorials where anybody can go in, any simple layman, and learn anything about the computer. So many people are ready to help the other people, so many are there to need the help, and ultimately I'm helping myself. So this is one thing that I feel There are many, many retired people whose health go down because they don't know how to pass the time. They say we are healthy, we can do something, but now we have no work. So we can have some work. All the university buildings and colleges are empty after 5 or 6 in the evening. Why can't we use them for having the voluntary courses? Somebody is very good at accounting and can go and teach accounting to the students who wish. Somebody like me can go and teach something related with medicine or health. Somebody else can teach something else. So I think with this concept, we can have a lot of things which will collectively make everybody grow. And the attitude is, how can I help you, or always ready to help. So this is, with this one idea, I think, with one basic principle, we can go a lot. To me, adharma is one thing where we are looking at the material gains. Every human mind thinks first, usme mera kya fayda hai? What is the gain to me materially? Whereas dharma is one which thinks what is the benefit to others, and believe me, it is not others' benefits, it is my benefit only. Sincerity and morality. When we try to connect dharma and polity, the two main qualities which are corroded right now is these two, sincerity and morality. If I am ready to accept the unlawful wealth, if I am ready to accept the unlawful sexual relations, no matter how intelligent I am, the things are not going to work fine. So dishonesty is the best foolishness. How? Because no sooner I try to become dishonest, my pulse rate becomes fast, my blood pressure may shoot up, there may be inner clashes, and even the machine who is non-live can pick up that he is not good. So here comes the biggest challenge for Indian polity, bhrashtachar or corruption. And the holistic scientist to whom I owe everything which I am right now, Dada Bhagwan, he said two very good sentences. जिनको मजबूरन भ्रष्टाचार करना पड़ता है, those who are compelled to do something wrong, they are gaon, wheat. But those who are making others to do the bhrashtachar or corruption, they are kankar. Kankari means kankar, stones. And the nature is moving around, nature will protect the wheat or gaon, and it will demolish all the kankar. And you and me are to see that happening. So Clean India movement, again, I have one suggestion, that one of my sister who is a teacher showed his kids, her kids, with a magnifying thing, how much dust and germs the hand creates because her kids were not washing hands. No sooner they say so only for once, less than a minute, nobody had to teach them again that they need to wash the hands. So audio-visual aids show them what is what. Water which we are drinking, we can put under the microscope and show even the water which is coming to my home through the corporation supply is not a potable water. I have to put intermediary inside RO or filters to make it potable. But once the people has to see scientifically what it contains to go to the correct thing. Now these are the various sins we see all around all our Indians, because monsoon has gone just now, and this leads to a lot of hospitals full of dengue. My own city, Baroda, is full of dengue right now. So we can talk of all good things, but as long as these basic things are not taken care of in a way that people can understand and practical results are there, I think we are not going to reap the benefits of this dharma and polity. Now, a dimension ahead, are we interested only in outer cleanliness? I would say no. The inner cleanliness is still more important. The inner pollution is what is most detrimental. My inner ill motives, my inner corruption, my anger, greed, pride and deceit, that's what is going to nature, and that's getting reflected. So if we can reduce, this is appeal to my all Indian friends, even if we can reduce our corruption to even some extent, we will be on the top of the world. Nobody can prevent us from leading the world from the dharmic principles. But as long as we cannot do that, we have to look inside. So like-minded people have to have a movement, clean and corruption-free India, cleanliness from within. And here I urge my younger generation friends, because they are open-minded. The emptiness is nothing but open-mindedness. Unlearn and learn. What you have seen, unlearn and learn something new. There cannot be anything empty, but you have to learn proper. So let us encourage, appreciate, and help the people with sincerity, morality, honesty, integrity, and values. I cannot stand here and say impractical things that, okay, we want to throw away corruption. But I can certainly say that in whatever capacity I am into, if I encourage the sincere, honest people, it will speak by itself that this world still stands good for a good people. So, and if it will come from us, from people's life, the polity or bureaucratics will automatically improve. So corruption-free India has to be another movement for us. धर्म एंड लाइफ, व्यापार में धर्म चाहिए, धर्म में व्यापार नहीं चाहिए. There should be dharma in commerce, but there should not be commerce in dharma. Now here, what do I mean by commerce? Commerce is not only where the transaction of money is done. Commerce is all reciprocating, give and take affairs and relations where some expectations, give and takes are there. So this is where we are talking about our dharma, which I mentioned as Pati Dharma, Patni Dharma, Mata Dharma, Pita Dharma, Santan Dharma. Dharma is Nagrik, I'm Indian citizen. There, in all these commerce life affairs, I should have dharma or moral principles. As an Indian citizen, I have to have in mind that first of all, मैं भारतीय हूँ. सर्वप्रथम मैं भारतीय हूँ. And in dharma means all the welfare activities. This is one of the example of dharma because this is with an intent of some welfare for something. All the welfare activities, commerce should not be at a priority place. Dharma Satta and Raja Satta we have already talked. So here my suggestions are, we already have the elected assemblies, we have bureaucratic systems and we have Rajya Sabha. Now here my suggestion is, there should be a visionary, wise, pure and saintly people's group who are free of material temptations to be created for guiding these people. And they should be from each walk of life, as I'm going to talk about each facets, education, law, economic, science and technology. So these people should be handed over the issues which are pertaining to the common good of the people while discussing and deciding visions and policies for welfare of one and all. Such people should be invited and involved. They do not have any formal powers, but they have the greatest power of their own characters, morals and living. Dharma is not to be talked, it is to be lived. On one side there can be, as I said, this machinery. On the other side, we can have such people from all the fields. And even so the education, few of the ideas about education, it should not be limited to the colleges, universities or academics. It should be a holistic education for a holistic growth of IQ, EQ and SQ through all the approaches, conventional and unconventional approaches. Right now we are learning through unconventional approach, conventional, unconventional approach, and value-added education. Gujarat government has formally implemented this project of value-added education. We have been going to many colleges. Madhya Pradesh government is already on to that side. So if we can add optional value-added education with an holistic science, I think it will go a long way. Education should be linked to practical aspects and need of the society. I have been seeing many graduates, double graduates, MBAs, going all around from tip to toe to seek the job, and many are jobless. I am experiencing, and so many are experiencing, we do not find the people of our need. I do not have formally qualified medical staffs. I have to train them. We have a lot of geriatric people. Canada, you go and if you are good in geriatric care, if you have some training, you will be immediately given a job. So we need to find out what are the needs of society, where are we finding difficulties, and we have to connect our education system to the needs of the society rather than going in a same clerical stereotyped system. And should the education be a business? Because Indian polity is going in that way. Many business houses are coming into education realizing this is a big business. Let it be, my view is, it should be first a noble duty for the giver and a right for a receiver, and it should not be guided by a business motives. Health, holistic health, not only the body health, but body, mind, and soul health. How can one and all have access to affordable and appropriate health services? How the correct knowledge or information can reach to all the people about the health diseases and other things. This is one area where I'm inviting my technology guys to help me, that all the people have correct information about the things, holistic and integrated approach, which I'm happy that Sanchi University is already working on to it, and research integrating all available modes of treatment. We were on one platform. Economics, it should not be only by graphs and drafts, but how much it is useful and beneficial to a common man. That should be the basis on which the government should be giving the incentives. How many people or lives it has affected or brought the smile to. Science and technology, it is good that we are talking about Mars missions and bullet trains, and good that we have 4G in our hands, but as somebody rightly said, there is no potable water even for the large portion of the people. There are no toilets. So the research which is focused on the needs of the basic people and the basic necessities should be encouraged more, and I think we have enough intelligent brains who can make this happen. Medias and news channels. I came across a nice for-sale journalism. I'm not criticizing anybody, but is this the scenario? It should not be. So what should be the norms, aims, or objectives? It has to be defined. Law and judiciary. How can we have a system where everybody can have a really a justice in a short time? Lesser the laws, better is for India. And interconnected living, global family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which my friend Dr. Merchant already mentioned. But my say is anybody different from me? No. Do I love you because for your sake? No. Even if you reciprocate or you don't reciprocate, once I start loving you, my heart will always be full. So with this vision and wisdom, if we walk, we'll be able to save, survive, and grow on this planet Earth. And holistic science, scientists, dharmic or good-hearted people should be invited and encouraged to study, research, and spread these things of friendship, love, share, and care. And present strategies of money, weapons, or cunning games can only be counteracted by the true light or the true knowledge. So the summary and suggestions are, in all times, there are both the forces, Daivi and Asuri, good and evil. There was no time where these two were not there. It is the Dharma which gives visions, intents, and attitudes which are far more important over the resources, technologies, or situations. And living by Dharma can lead to welfare of mankind, and living by adharma can lead to downfall and destruction like the older societies of Greece or Rome. So correct understanding or true knowledge is the only solution for this root cause. Let the true knowledge shine to dispel all the darkness. Let us develop and promote holistic visions for all facets of life, including use of science, dharma, and polity. Study, research, and spread of holistic science with its all-round applications. Train the trainers, whosoever is interested, like teachers, administrators, or others, and make it available to one and all. We all have phones. Let's make short clips, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes on all different themes, and it can spread to all like anything, putting the messages into their subconscious mind and working or things to happen. So thank you very much. And a few passing remarks. Professor Geo Longley talked much in depth. It speaks of what he must be living inside. But to correlate a little bit, can anyone dissolve I? My practical question. Is it possible to dissolve I? So first step is convert I from negative to positive. The I which is disturbing, convert it that let my mind, speech, and body make one and all happy. Let my mind, speech, and body oblige everybody. And at the second phase, I will remain, but it will sit with the pure self. I am the pure soul self. I will not become zero, but I will sit at the proper place that I am the pure soul self. and I am separate from the body, but I have my own properties. See, what is zero? Zero is in context to the properties of relative world or Prakriti. In reference to Prakriti, I am zero, but with all my inner attributes, I have infinite knowing power, I have infinite seeing power, I have infinite bliss, I am immortal, I am forever, I am inexhaustible. In my own properties, I am always full. So that is how the Ved also says कि पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादास्य पूर्णमित, फुल में से फुल आता है तो फुल रहता है. So in one reference it is zero, in another reference science says no element can be without attributes. So in terms of science, nothing can be zero or nothing can be without attributes. So it has to have the practical dimension for the people to practice it free from desires. Can we become free from desires really practically? So what kind of desires we can have? When I'm trying to make the people happy, I really become happy. So that's the desire. And then ultimately when I have tasted the happiness of my real soul self or pure soul self, the happiness which I was believing so far in the relative things automatically becomes paler. So my desire is now for the true happiness, or it is desireless desire. So that is how I think practically it goes. So I end up the session over here.